Peace, peace, good people. Yes, we have the first look inside the bout between Joshua and Ngannou. The kickoff press conference commenced earlier today. For Joshua and Ngannou, the fight that we could expect to see on March 8th, which is, I guess now it's something for me personally I have to admit that I definitely am interested in what may come of this, even though my interest in it was not a favorable one. Let's say prior to the announcement that this fight would be happening, I was not at all swayed by the popular opinion that, it was the fight to make in heavyweight boxing. I just wasn't a part of it. I'm still not a part of that, honestly. But now the fight is announced. We have a date. They had the kickoff press conference today. It's like, okay, well, I'm interested in seeing what will happen. Of course, I love Anthony Joshua. He's definitely one of my favorite fighters in the entire sport. So, whatever he's doing, I'm always going to take a peek in to see and support him in what he's doing. So I think it's interesting what we have ahead. I'm kind of on the outskirts of this one emotionally. I'm not really vested into it outside of the fact that it is a Joshua bout. But we'll see. We'll see what is delivered. They dubbed this card, what is it called? Knockout Chaos. So, obviously they expect some type of fireworks, some type of explosive energy to be had, by giving it that title. I don't believe that the full details of the card have been unveiled as of yet. I'm definitely interested in seeing the lineup and just the vibe of the card itself, like what fighters will be a part of the spectacle. It's definitely something interesting. I know that the Wilder Zhang murmurings were kind of whispering and thundering about the possibility that Wilder would be fighting Zhili Zhang, but I don't believe any confirmations have been made upon that as of yet. So I guess we'll see as time goes on, the details of the card. So this fight, the Ngannou, Ngannou did, a good, impressive job, honestly, against Tyson Fury for his first professional boxing match back in October of 23. And he managed to send shockwaves through the boxing world, real talk, with the surprise knockdown that he handed Fury in the third round. That was definitely shocking. It was definitely astonishing. I don't think anybody was necessarily prepared for that. I can't say nobody expected it because people know Ngannou as a heavy hitter. He's a powerful dude, big, beautiful, strapping man who knows what the fuck he's doing in his field of MMA. Like, he delivers punishment. That's what he's known for. So I can't say that I was truly astonished when it happened. I just wasn't prepared for it. You know what I mean? Especially so early in the fight. Third round, that's something else. So he managed to accomplish that. And Tyson Fury, though, even though suffering that knockdown, he kind of regained himself and he completed the bout with the victory. Many people believe that, Fury was just too much with the expertise. That's why he got it. Some people had a split, consciousness about it and saying that, and, it was clear that Ngannou won and should have gotten the decision. So there was some controversy surrounding that. But all in all, the paper shows that Tyson Fury got the W for that one. Some questions were raised, however, regarding the effects of Fury's inactivity upon that fight, for the reason why people attributed the knockdown to be associated with that inactivity that he had. Because I believe previous to the Ngannou fight, he fought Derek Chisora, which was nearly a year that he had been out of a ring. He and Chisora fought back in December of 22, if I'm not mistaken. And, people attribute ring rust as the factor as to why Fury touched the canvas. I can't say that I disagree with it at all. It definitely looked to be so. Fury, I can't say he necessarily looked fresh. He didn't look fresh at all. He looked, kind of, even though he managed to be effective as always with his boxing, for the most part throughout the fight, I can't say that he looked his freshest. So I can't say that he looked his most, alert, centered self. That I can't say that he did look as that. But, if you look at the fight with Fury and Ngannou, and you dissect it, at least for me, it goes without saying that Joshua should absolutely decimate and decapitate Ngannou. I mean, if we're just looking at what it is, Joshua's last performance, if we're looking at, truthfully and thoroughly and clearly at Ngannou's first professional fight, I just don't even think that there are waves to be denied. There are levels between them, and it's definitely significant enough for you to notice if you are not a loyalist. Loyalists, who are people who really are about the boxing life, know what time it is as far as the abilities between both men. But it's pretty plain and clear to me that Joshua, hands down, decapitates Ngannou and should have no particular problems doing so. So where Fury kind of got into the ring with basically a year's inactivity, in the case of Joshua, this man has been active. I don't even know the last time he had this type of activity in his career. He's been the most active that he had been in quite some time. He managed to push out 3 fights in 2023, coming out of each one of those 3 fights victoriously. And he had the most notable of the 3 performances at the Day of Reckoning just a month ago, at the Day of Reckoning, where he fought Otto Wallen and he completely pummeled that man in 5 rounds. And Wallen is the man, funny enough, who administered and bludgeoned Tyson Fury's face to no ends. Like, he completely battered Tyson Fury's face. That's the same man that Joshua managed to dissect in a matter of 3 rounds. So that was interesting to see that. So, and the case of activity, I think, plays a tremendous role in this next fight that Ngannou will have, which is his second professional fight. I think he's dealing with 2 completely different levels of existence, 2 different planes. Tyson Fury is definitely a great boxer. He's definitely, accredited as one of the best heavyweights of this time by a lot of people. And he managed to do what he wound up doing. But this is also off of a Tyson Fury, as aforementioned, that hasn't been in the ring for a year. He's dealing with Joshua, who has been the most active that he has been for many years in his career. So it's just red and blue at this point. It's on opposite ends of energy and playing fields that he's dealing with. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does with the level of activity and experience and freshness that Joshua has coming into this fight, especially coming into this fight with a hell of a lot of goddamn confidence, for sure, because he really did the damn thing against Otto Wallen. Like, there is no question about that. So that's going to be interesting to see that dynamic at play when they meet in March. And Ngannou, in moments in the Fury fight, after scoring the knockdown, I noticed that, like, towards the 6th round, like right after the knockdown and the 3rd round, I think, like from round 5 on, he started like headhunting for real. Like, he kind of like, he had the taste of blood, of course, from the knockdown, and he wanted it. And he just, at moments he started, just swinging wildly, to be honest. He didn't really seem collected in particular periods of that fight after the knockdown. He didn't seem synced with his game plan, which is, is tantamount to what you would expect from somebody who isn't seasoned. Just start headhunting and getting greedy and stuff like that, not really composed. And there were definitely moments where he started, you see him lusting for another big shot. swinging wildly and stuff like that. And should he do this again against Joshua, that can prove to be a very, 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 very dangerous move and decision. I don't think he wants to go in windmilling against Joshua. That's not the smartest thing to do, as Joshua's right hand is absolutely devastating. And from what we've seen displayed against Wallen, the body shots, that work that he's doing to the body is just absolutely, something to look out for. The sound of those punches that he was administering to Wallen's body was just, it was echoing throughout the ring. So I don't know how he's going to do that. And I have a question about that, like how he's going to handle, his composure in the ring. Is he going to get greedy? Is the sense of him being a novice, because that is what he is when it comes to boxing in the professional boxing world. I know it's been his dream to do it. I know that he is a professional fighter, but the boxing profession is a completely different beast. And you have to know that. I know this is, that's for the fans who think, he fights. He ain't new to this. He's true to this. He's not true to this. He only stepped in the ring one time professionally to box. I don't care how many bouts he's had in MMA. That does not necessarily translate to boxing. It just doesn't. And, y'all gotta be a little bit more conscious about that when you fling out these ideas. But, upon the swinging and upon the, head hunting in moments after he had the success, it really made me double back and look at the fact that he also has no notable defense. He swings a good game, but he don't really have defense like that. Like, his guard was low. There was times where his guard wasn't even working. There were, moments where he looked awkward. And, that's not, it's part of the territory. That was his first bout, and it's something that he is learning. It's something that he's learning to do on this level. And so the awkwardness was definitely translating in the ring. He wasn't really using his guard. And, even though he did, I think people judge him off the fact that he did good for his first fight, but that doesn't mean that he is seasoned. You can do good, but that doesn't mean that you know all you need to know. That doesn't mean that you are sound on your basics. He's a work in progress. I mean, every fighter is, but him especially. He's had one fight in his entire career in boxing. So it's something that I'm interested to see if he is developing and working on. Because when you consider it October to, what is this, January, it's not a lot of time, to become a master at something. I mean, an elite, a real elite master. So we have to consider the growing pains that will be obvious that he is going through. And it will be also wise to consider that those growing pains can and will be exploited by the likes of somebody like Anthony Joshua, that's for sure. Also, Ngannou didn't seem to know what to do with Fury's jab. Fury kind of kept him at bay at various points throughout their fight. He seemed to, use his jab quite effectively, enough to touch him up whenever he wanted. So that was interesting as well. What is Ngannou how is he going to be able to handle the effectiveness of Anthony's jab? That's going to be interesting to see. Is that something that he's worked on, how to respond to a stiff, effective jab? Definitely interesting. And the swinging wildly and stuff like that, I don't know. He missed some significant shots as a result of that kind of, head hunting and stuff like that after a while, or just moments of, really trying to get in close to Fury, who was keeping the distance due to the effectiveness of his jab. Another thing I noticed with Ngannou was that he wasn't always sitting on his punches. He was throwing some haymakers, and he landed some really actually wonderful shots on Fury at particular moments, but I didn't really see a commitment to sitting on his punches enough for me. I would have liked to have seen more of that from him. He definitely threw, like I said, his power shots, and he had the successes at certain moments, but it does raise the question of issues possibly pertaining to fatigue or stamina. Was he not throwing them because he was tired? He did look a little bit winded in certain pockets of the fight, which is questionable because it's like that's his first professional fight, and he's throwing only punches. He had 9 rounds of that, only throwing haymakers, or trying to. And that's an entirely different thing from being able to, throw your punches to switch to a kick. Let's say when your arms is tired, to be able to switch to a wrestling position when you're tired of standing up. Ain't no switching motherfucking positions here. Like, you got to stand here and you got to throw your damn hands and you got to box and you got to be able to move. All of this, is required of you. And so you must have the stamina for sustained punch output. You just must. And there were many opportunities that I saw that could have and should have been exploited by Fury, real talk. And I have no question that Joshua will completely exploit and put out there. He should have no problem taking out the trash as far as that's concerned. As far as those loopholes that Ngannou has. So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to see what he will do. When Joshua starts dissecting and unlocking these things, when he starts curbing and suppressing his abilities, how is he going to respond? How is he going to react? Will he get frustrated as well and start windmilling like he did in parts of the Fury bout? Ngannou is definitely no simp. He's no simp. He's a warrior. He's coming there to fight. He has his mind on it. And looking at him in the press conference, he's definitely reserved and he's calm and he's, his aim, his objective, like he said, is to test the chin of Anthony Joshua. And, he's a man who is aligned with what he says. He doesn't play games. He is about that fight life. This is what he does as well as a profession, even though it's another sect of combat sports. He is a fighter, and he is not coming there to lay down. He's coming there to live out his dreams and, conquer the heavyweight division. He has his eyes set on it, and it's definitely interesting and inspiring to watch him on the journey. At so early a stage, he has this platform to be able to do it on this level, which is absolutely crazy to me. But he's here and he's doing it. So, all we can do is sit back and watch it as it unfolds. But what is he going to do? How is he going to respond, to Joshua, whose work rate in his last bout proved to be something that is developing stronger and becoming more vicious and precise and adamant about chopping down whatever is in front of him. How is he going to handle that? Because Tyson Fury surely didn't approach him in that way in that fight that they had. Tyson was mostly light on his feet, his classical style that we know Fury for. And Joshua looked like the motherfucking Punisher in that fight against Wallen. It's interesting. The clashes, it's interesting to see, what the dynamic will be between these two significant, powerful men on two completely different levels when it comes to the boxing world. But yeah, hopefully he's, in practice of keeping his game plan at hand, that he's not, switching and losing composure in certain moments, like that showing novice tendencies. Hopefully he is developing, that in the ring with his trainers and, the people, his team around him and stuff like that. So that we could see about that's worthwhile and that's competitive on some level. That's what I would anticipate is happening. He seems focused. Joshua seems focused as well. He has this cool, calm, killer demeanor, the same as we saw in the Day of Reckoning. Promotion pressers that he was doing, laser focused, not really too much about the talk, knows what he has to do. And I'm excited to see the continuance of what he and Ben Davison have been working on I like the animal that they're creating in the lab. It's a vicious animal with Joshua. It's a focused animal. It's an attuned animal. It's an animal that likes blood. It's an animal that makes no apologies. It's an animal that does not seek to explain itself. It just does what it does, and you can take it or you could leave it the fuck alone. Like, I like this Joshua. I really like to see him about his business and to claim his space. I really do like that. His fight style against Wallen was punch oriented, attack centered. It was wonderful to see that. His focus was chopping the tree down in front of him. There was no other aim. I loved the profusion of body work that he was doing. I love it. I love seeing Joshua go to the body. I would love to see more of that done against Ngannou and moving forward, because it's something amazing to see that. He has a really good thing going with Ben Davison. I like the matchup. I've always been a fan of he and Derek James. I think that they are still an immaculate team together. I like that James was able to put him back on a winning streak, which was phenomenal. I like the brotherhood between them is beautiful, but I also enjoy Ben Davison. Ben Davison seems to have really sparked the killer instinct, and Joshua have translated to him well, and Joshua received the message pretty clearly, and is already had a wonderful display of giving us what we've all been wanting to see from him, which is devastating killer instinct and power. It's wonderful, that type of aggression that we've seen in the last fight. And I think everybody's interested to see if it'll continue and how it will be exacted upon Ngannou and upon the future opponents. So yes, it's going to be interesting also to see what Ngannou learned in the Fury fight, if he learned anything at all. It's all up in the air until March 8th, and that's going to be wonderful. What's crazy to me is also how, okay, so I think I heard, if I'm not mistaken, in the presser, that the winner of this card is going to be in line to fight the winner of Usyk Fury for undisputed. I guess it makes sense, because it's a real big bout. I just don't, what's the thing that I think I mentioned this in the other Joshua Ngannou breakdown video I did before the fight got announced. I just wasn't into it, as I mentioned earlier. It's not something, whatever. Okay, so we're here. I don't know how the hell Ngannou, in his second professional fight, could stand the opportunity to fight for undisputed. I don't know. Am I hating? Am I hating, y'all? I just don't, it's not something that I can get over. If the man does his thing against Anthony Joshua, what can I say except, well, he did that shit. Well, what else can I say? If he put the business on Josh, I can't say shit. So it's like, I would then have to just say, okay, well, he did that. So it's like, if he does do that, is he not entitled to fight, the best, who proves himself to be the best and wins undisputed? Obviously that's the case. He'll have to be in line then to fight the thing. But what I can't get over is like people like people like Zhang, people like Parker, people like Dubois, it's like, who are in this, who do this. Like, shouldn't they? I don't know. That's a whole nother thing. It's a very complicated thing for me. I get it, especially if Ngannou does the damn thing against Joshua. Ain't no hating on him. If he wins for whatever reason, then it is what it is. That has to be accepted. And, should he beat the likes of him, then that would mean that he would have to fight the other elite, the top of the top elite. So I don't know, but I just can't seem to get over the idea that he's in line to, in his second professional bout, already be in the landscape for an undisputed, shot. It's just crazy to me. But anyway, didn't mean to make that so extensive. But yes, I'm definitely looking into the fight. I'm keeping my eye on what is to come as it develops. Hopefully that they have good training camps. Hopefully that their minds are on board, particularly Joshua. He has a lot to prove with this fight, even though it is with a comparatively speaking, he's a novice. He's against a novice, a boxing novice. As far as comparing the levels, to him and to, other professional boxers in the division. But Ngannou is a serious contender, as we know. He's not coming there to play. I give the man his respect. I really like Ngannou. I always have for many years watching him fight. I think he's a wonderful character. And it's definitely a different energy that he's bringing into the boxing world, because he seems to, even though he is not necessarily, saturated with or imbued with a sense of, experience and boxing knowledge, he's definitely somebody that obviously respects the sport, and he's giving his time and his dedication to it, just like the next person, even though it's something, new as of late that he's been doing and getting involved in. I definitely and certainly respect anybody who respects the game, because I respect the game. And I like that he respects me enough as a boxing fan to take this seriously and to come in his very first fights against two of the best in the entire sport, so it's wonderful to see that. And I definitely take my hat off to him for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing, if anything, even though I'm not crazy about this fight, I went into it thinking of it as an exhibition. I definitely am interested in seeing, not necessarily Ngannou's skills, but I'm definitely interested in seeing the display of his heart, that he set out a goal for himself and that he is on the prowl to step in the ring and to face, the best of the best. You got to give a man credit for that type of lion heart. That's something that I respect for sure. So we'll see what happens on the Knockout Chaos card on March 8th. Until next time, peace.